Hello, it's me Dan again with another tutorial on the Korg Monologue. I have already posted a video how to make drum samples making kicks. So let's move on to snares. Alright, initialize the patch first, push edit mode, make sure it's in program edit, the second to the last button, twist that knob until it says press right and press right. We have an initialized patch. Okay, a snare. Let's just make a really basic snare sound. It's pretty easy. We're just going to be using VCO2. So turn VCO1 down and make sure VCO2 is at max. And we're going to be using the noise function. First things first, let's put a filter on it. And I mean, that already, if you're making like Nine Inch Nails type industrial electronic music, this is a great snare already. It's got that sort of gated on-off quality. If you turn up the distortion of the drive, yeah, you've already got a snare there. But let's go for a more traditional one with a decay in the sound. So we're going to switch to the pluck one-shot sound. Sorry, I've got some dusty bits. The pluck one-shot sound and turn down the decay. Just turn it up a bit. And that's pretty much a snare. Let's bring up the drive. And to shape the sort of how dark or bright it is, it's to do with the cutoff. And maybe turn up the decay. So there we have a very basic snare. All right, a lot of snare sounds actually have an underlying sort of pitched sort of a whoop sound. So how to do that? Let's add another oscillator. So VCO1, let's turn it to triangle, bring up the VCO. I mean, that's a snare right there. Maybe turn down VCO1. But let's do a modulation on the pitch. So we'll use the LFO on one shot and the ramp down on the sawtooth and make sure it's on pitch and turn up the intensity. I'm just turning down the mix of VCO1. So that's a snare right there. And you can adjust the brightness with the cutoff. That's pretty good. And I mean, you can also mess around with the shape of VCO1. So let's try a sawtooth. Let's bring down the octave. Let's shorten that decay. Maybe not so much distortion. Maybe bring it down another octave. It's always good to try different notes on a keyboard. Some notes just seem to work better than others. Let's try a square shape. Bring it up an octave. Maybe make it a bit darker. But I really do like the triangle shape. It's got a little bit more resonance, I guess, to it. Another thing you could try is experiment with the shape of the LFO. So at the moment we've got it on the ramp down. Let's try a ramp up. I haven't tried this, but we'll see. So to do a ramp up, hold shift and then wiggle that intensity knob. So you can hear it's going That's another option you could do, or you could use the triangle shape. So I think I've got it inverted at the moment, so let's just wiggle that intensity. So it's going from low to high, back to low again. Or let's try it back to how it was inverted. So starting high, going to low, going back to high. So hold the shift, intensity, wiggle. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So those are some ideas to make some snare sounds. But I do find this, it's not quite polished as a snare because the Korg Monologue only has one type of filter. It's only got a low pass filter. And snares tend to not have like low frequency content. So we're going to have to bring it into a DAW, DAW, and just put a high pass filter on it. All right, let's move on to my DAW. Okay, so I am in my DAW. This is Pro Tools. You can use whatever DAW that you use, whether it be Ableton or Logic or Reaper. Just bring up a parametric EQ and throw on a high pass filter. So I'm just going to play the synth without the filter enabled. And you can see there's a ton of bottom end there that should not be there, especially for a snare. So I'm going to enable my EQ and put on a high pass filter. So you can hear it's just gotten rid of all of that bottom end that you just do not need. So one thing to also try with polishing the snare sound is to add some sort of tube saturation or tube amp. Or just saturation in general. So I'm using Voxingo Tube Amp. It's a totally free plugin that you can get, and I've put some drive and saturation on this. So this is what it sounds like. So it just adds a little bit more grit to it. You may have to add a low pass filter on it just to shave off some of those highs. And shape it a little bit. So yeah, those are two ways using a saturator and a high pass or even a band pass filter on the sound. It just polishes the sound a little bit more. You could also add like a transient shaper to add more attack, or mess around with different saturators, or even distortion if you wanted to. So there you have it, snare sounds on the Korg Monologue. Stay tuned for my next video where I go into hi-hats. Okay, see you then.